So hi, we just Kirat talked to you on Telegram. He's on mute right now because
Okay.
there's some voice issues. We are from Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology, and
Yeah.
we are students from a developer student club, Thapar. Yeah. So basically, we started this podcast series because we wanted to get the students in our college a bit more engaged with the industry perspective. How does things work outside the college when they go for internships, when they go for jobs? What should they expect? What would be different out there? And so we thought this podcast series would be an informative way to tell them about what's going on right now and also about some new technologies that have come up. Uh, so let's start by your introduction.
Okay. First of all, it's really nice to see that college students are doing such activities to engage more students into tech. Uh, Not all colleges are doing that, so it's really a good thing. So about me, my name is Shad and I work at Hashnode. I'm a full stack developer at Hashnode. I graduated in 2018 from Lucknow,
Okay.
from a private college in Lucknow.
Mhm.
And after that I was a React Native developer for 1.5 years, and then I switched to as a full stack developer on Hashnode. I do some open source and I like writing technical articles also. Apart from coding, I am interested in literature and artworks. So I do sketching and all.
Cool. Yeah, I have seen your artworks on Instagram.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they're really good.
Thank you.
Most of them are Tane Pratap's illustrations.
I,
I
I
would.
he was a part of my before joining Hashnode. He was a mentor, so it was like a thank you gift to him.
Oh, okay.
oh,
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
that's great.
Tell us a bit more about what you do at Hashnode, particularly, and what Hashnode is all about.
Okay, so Hashnode is a platform, and more importantly, it's a community. So it's empowering developer to share their stories and grow their career. So we have a bunch of things like you can ask a question, you can share your blog. One of the key features is a dev blog. You can get your own blog running in a second with your
Okay.
own custom domain and private repo. You can back up your content to your own GitHub repository also. You will truly own your content. Whatever you post on Hashnode is truly yours,
Okay.
not like other platforms.
So,
And
uh,
there
how
are
is it
multiple things happening. Yeah,
Sorry, continue.
go ahead. Okay, so there are multiple things happening like Ask AMAs and She Inspire. We have a different series of She Inspire where we interview women from code, from tech. Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
So, how is it different from platforms like Medium or Dev.to or many other blogging platforms?
Uh, it's different from Medium because you truly own your content. Medium doesn't let you own your content. Medium is the
Okay.
owner and they make profit out of your content. So here we are
All
not
right.
doing that. We are not putting any ad. You are and whatever you post on Hashnode is truly yours.
Mm-hmm.
Even on dev.to is a lot similar, but
Okay.
dev.to is a blogging platform basically.
All right.
But Hashnode is not just a blogging platform; it's a community. There are a lot much
Okay.
happening. If you go to Hashnode, you will see a lot more things happening apart from the blogging itself. And the devlog
Mm-hmm.
feature itself is a separate. You can say a separate product of Hashnode.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you a lot of people are using Gatsby to generate a
Mm-hmm.
static site to use their blog. So you don't have to do that. You can just
Right.
use Hashnode to own your blog.
Okay.
Really,
It's a good idea because my blog right now is on Gatsby, so I'll think of
Okay.
shifting.
yeah,
Even I'm not using any portfolio website. I'm using just Hashnode. I added a about page and added all the information in
Okay.
about page, and that is my
Mm-hmm.
portfolio.
Oh,
added my
Nice.
domain.
that was that was some great
Yeah.
information on Hashnode, and we too feel that it's great. It's a great platform. It's a great community. So, like this, can you tell
Yeah.
us more about your coding journey, how you reached at this point, and some secret tips from your side?
Hmm.
Okay. So I wasn't a great student in college. Like I was good in academic, but the tech culture in my college was not that great. We were not that
Mhm.
much coding. Most of the things are just copy pasting stuff and complete your assignment and get some marks. That's it. So
Okay.
after the college got over in May 2018, so I just knew J2EE, JSP pages. That's it.
Okay.
And we are not using JSP pages anywhere in tech right now. You won't see anyone using JSP pages or anything like that. It's
Mhm.
JavaScript everywhere. So I started learning from YouTube. You might be aware of the New Boston website, Bucky
Yes, yes.
Roberts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started learning Java from his tutorials, and then I learned Android development. It took about 3 months, and then I built a demo app, and I just posted a screen recording on WhatsApp, and someone saw it, and someone took that recording and sent it to a developer in Bangalore. So he showed it to
Oh,
his company. It was a startup, so they called me for an interview, and I got hired.
Oh,
So that was the
that's
first job.
amazing.
yeah. Truly,
Right.
truly, that's great.
So, uh,
So like other people, my plan was to learn build some projects and come to Bangalore and just
mhm.
show this to the interviewers and get a job. But didn't happen. I got a job before even coming to Bangalore.
That's amazing. So you
Yeah.
would say that showing your work makes a lot of difference, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
personally speaking, I have started an Instagram page of my own where I'm posting daily updates of what I'm doing, uh, like recording my journey. So I got this idea from people in communities and around me that if you start showing off your work, like whatever you are learning, any tech stack, any new technology, I guess if
Hmm.
we just put it out there somewhere, even if it's Instagram, if it's Twitter, if it's TikTok also, if you just put it out there, maybe someone will notice it. And like in your case, you might get a job as well.
Uh, okay, so you won't believe what happened. I was working on this React Native design system, one of my open source projects.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I released that project and tweeted about it, and I got around 140 plus likes and retweets. So on
Mm-hmm.
that same day, I got 5 job offers within 24 hours
Oh,
That's amazing.
on that
And
same day.
people rely on college placements for getting placed. I guess this is a much
Yeah.
better way.
yeah. Much better in
My college,
comparison.
usually you have in-campus placements, but my college has like zero in-campus placement. So everyone got placed by off-campus only. And that was the plan. I was also going to come to Noida or Bangalore, but
Mhm.
building something helped me in this part.
So tell us more about the first app that you built that got you hired in
So,
Bangalore.
yeah. So there was a project going on at that time, Lucknow Metro. If you are aware,
Okay.
Lucknow Metro project was on building. So I made an app to put it's a go-to application for everything you need, every information you need on Metro. How many
Mhm.
stops are there? What will be the fare, and which stop will come after which one? These type of stuff. And I just put a recording on WhatsApp, and someone from my WhatsApp contact took the recording and sent it to the HR of this team. It's a startup. It was a small company.
Mhm.
So I worked here for like 1.5 hours. And the second job also, this Hashnode also, this is because of all the community work that I have been doing. Like I
Okay.
was writing articles, blogs, and this open source project, these things.
Mhm.
So if you are putting your work out there, it will help you a lot, because people know that you are learning and you are doing these things. And if suppose you are writing about a concept, suppose function, you have written about a function,
Mhm.
everything about a function. So people will know that this guy know about functions really well. Okay,
Hmm.
so that's the main benefit you will get from putting yourself out there.
Amazing. Uh,
Okay.
so next question. What is your preferred tech stack as of now?
Okay, so I shifted to React. Now I'm not working on React Native. I'm working on
Hmm.
React with Next.js, and Next.js is just
Okay.
amazing.
Server
It's
side,
it's
right?
really good. Yeah, server side rendering, better SEO, CSS in JS, everything is just perfect. So, and
Hmm.
for state management, I use MobX mostly. Even in Hashnode, we are using MobX, and for my side projects also, I prefer MobX over Redux. It's a lot less
Okay.
code and works flawlessly. And for
Hmm.
database, MongoDB or PostgreSQL.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
so
if you need API,
ele-
then GraphQL.
yeah, GraphQL. Coming to
GraphQL.
GraphQL,
Uh-huh.
we all have
Yeah.
this doubt as to when to use GraphQL
Yeah.
and when to use RESTful APIs, and what are the differences for a layman person who has just started with web development. How will you explain the
Mhm.
differences between those two, and what are the benefits over one
Okay.
another?
So I would say that suppose you hear a word perfect API. So what will be the
Mhm.
points that you will have in mind? Like what's the perfect API? You will think about performance, you will
Mhm.
think about usability, and you will
Mhm.
think about uh, better documentation, right?
Right.
So
Okay.
if you compare GraphQL from REST API, GraphQL provides you out of the box documentation. Okay. So the most important part is already taken care of. You don't have to worry about that.
Mhm.
Okay. And next thing is performance. So what with REST APIs, the one problem is even if you don't need a data, you have to call the same API and you will get all the
Okay.
data even if you need it or not. So
Mhm.
GraphQL solves this problem. There is no overfetching or underfetching. Okay.
Mhm.
And with GraphQL, we will have a different versions of API. If you are migrating your project to another version, then some of the user might be on the previous version. So you can't delete the previous APIs. You will have
Mhm.
to make have the both versions of API. So this
Right.
problem is also solved by GraphQL. You won't have to like version your API. It's just a field. It's a normal JSON like query, and you just add a new field and you will get that data. Okay,
Mhm.
and it's a typed system. So GraphQL has types for all the strings and in integer number you have types. So if you
Mhm.
are saving some wrong type of information, you will get the error instantly. So it saves you from a lot
Okay.
of errors also. Okay, so the main advantage is if your app gets really big. Okay, suppose you are working on a production level app, which is used
Mhm.
by a lot of people, then uh, the complexity increases and it's not simple to make a performant API. Okay, some
Mhm.
of the complexities increases and you will have to think a lot about that to manage all these. And there are other things like caching. So,
Yeah.
okay, so what happens is in REST API, if you need data from three different sources, okay, so you will call three different endpoints. Okay, but in
Mhm.
GraphQL there is only one endpoint which will give you all the data. So this
Okay.
has benefit and disadvantage both.
Mhm.
With REST API you can cache those endpoints.
Mhm.
If your app is really big, so you can cache those endpoints and you won't have to make that request again and again. But with GraphQL there is only one endpoint, so you can't do the caching at the client side. Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
so that's the one issue. Like one is optimization at a scale, and second is this caching thing. This is the two.
Mhm.
So if you are choosing for your side project, then I will say just go with GraphQL. It doesn't matter that a lot. It will
Mhm.
create a little problem when your app grows a lot bigger.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that was great. One more thing, you have been into React Native from quite a long time. And into
Yeah.
cross-platform development nowadays, there is a new competitor. People say, what's the difference between Flutter and React Native? So, like, can you please elaborate
Hmm.
some more on that, or which is better?
Yeah. it's not like about better. Right now, both are great. I have tried not really much into Flutter. I just tried a little, like 1 or 2 days, but it's a lot faster than React Native for time being, because
Okay.
Flutter is using Dart, and Dart
Mhm.
supports ahead of time compilation, so which is really fast. Okay, so uh, the development and the developer experience and app performance is better in Flutter, but the
Mhm.
community support and what you can say, easy to adapt is React Native, because React Native is JavaScript. If you know JavaScript, you can code in React Native. But for Flutter, you
Mhm.
have to learn a new language, Dart, which is
Okay.
like a version of JavaScript and Java. It's object oriented, so you have to know a lot of concepts of object oriented language also.
So
And
what do you think is
yeah.
the future for React Native? Given that Flutter is coming up, do you think
Mhm.
industries will still go and use React Native for big projects, or you know,
Yeah,
with the new startup Flutter?
industry will be using both of these technology. Like
Mhm.
Flutter is growing really well, but React Native is also rebuilding its whole architecture
Okay.
to compete with Flutter, or you can say to solve a lot of problems. Like React Native has a lot of problems with animation,
Okay.
because you write in React Native, then you convert that code to native JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript. Then this code communicates with the native modules at the Android side. Either it's a C++ or for iOS it's Objective C. So
Hmm.
there is a bridging in between, and the process is asynchronous. So it's like there is a delay in animation. So whenever you suppose there are two things basically. Okay, wait. Uh, there is a UI layer which takes care of the UI changes, and there is a communication between the native modules and the JavaScript side.
Hmm.
Okay, so the React Native team is coming up with a new architecture. They are introducing a new module called as JavaScript interface, which
Hmm.
lets you invoke a reference on the C++ classes. So you can directly communicate with the C++ classes without going through the bridge. So in the coming months, I think this will happen, and it will totally eliminate all the performance benchmark up till now. React
Okay.
Native gives you native experience, but it's not purely native. It's a native-like experience. So there are a lot of performance drawback which you won't see normally. But if your app is really big, suppose like Facebook or things like that, then you
Hmm.
will see some performance pitfalls. So React Native team is working on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, so you made a React Native design system. It is your
Yeah.
open source project. So tell us a bit more about that, and what is it, and what does it comprise of?
Okay. What happened is I was working on some side projects, freelancing projects, and I was
Hmm.
writing a lot of tech articles also. So this
Hmm.
involves creating some demos, app demos or something like that. So I was
Okay.
copy pasting a lot of components from different apps. I already had a lot of reusable component. I was copy pasting a lot of component, and I thought that maybe it will be a good idea to combine all this and create a package out of it. So I did.
Hmm.
It was working, but there was some problems, and I was just improving that, like eliminating those problems and improving the library for
Hmm.
myself. And after a lot of iteration, it became like a React Native design system. I added some rules, also design rules that studied some other design system and added some rules. Okay, so
Hmm.
if you are working on freelancing gigs
Hmm.
or other projects, so you just have to tweak the design files, theme files, and you are good to go. Most of the components are common, so you don't have to create yourself, and you can uh, work on the business side of the app mostly.
Okay.
So
So few of the keywords that I had in mind while creating this was, uh, main thing was I wanted to avoid a lot of copy pasting
Hmm.
component. And when you are using components from different apps, so the
Hmm.
API is not consistent. By API, I mean the props you pass to a React component. So I just wanted to avoid remembering a lot of props. So I started
Okay.
working on a consistent API, like which means having a lower API surface area that you don't have to remember a lot of things and you can get started quickly. And one of the main goal was to get started in 10 minutes or less.
Okay. So if I'm working on a React Native project and I uh, clone your repo, use your design system, so what
Yes.
are the features that I can expect off the go, like without doing anything? What are the things that I'm
Uh,
getting?
okay, so the theming is already customized for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can make sure that your component will look exactly similar on both platform, Android and iOS. One
Mm-hmm.
thing is that, and if you know how to use one component, like there are few props like space, there is a space prop, there is a size prop, there is a color prop. So these props are common across all the components. So if you
Mm-hmm.
know how to use one component, you know how to use any component. So this makes things a lot simpler.
Yeah.
Okay,
Amazing.
and you can iterate a lot faster because one of the key features is separation of concern. This is inspired by Bragg design system. So
Mm-hmm.
separation of concerns means when you are building a UI, there are two things to manage. One is the actual component, and second thing is space around it.
Mm-hmm.
So in React Native design system, you get two types of component. One is a normal component and one is a layout component. So normal component takes care of its design and its usage. Suppose it's a button. So it will take care of its own color, its own width and height, and how you are going to use it. And the spacing is totally taken care by layout component. Like there is a stack
Mm-hmm.
component which lets you stack your components on top of each other. There is a
Mm-hmm.
box component which provides spacing around a component. Suppose you are putting a button and you need
Okay.
some spacing around it. So you put a
Mm-hmm.
box and you drop the button inside a box. So and
Okay.
box
Okay.
will have a property of spacing, and spacing is also like you can get extra small to extra large. There are like 7 properties. It's common across all the components. And third thing you can get is freedom. Like the APIs are not that rigid. You can always
Mm-hmm.
override the existing style. Also, you have a lot of choices. Like suppose it's a size prop. So React Native design system provide you 7 different sizes: extra
Mm-hmm.
small, extra small, small to extra large. Total of 7 different choices, and each of the component have 7 choices. So you are getting a lot of freedom also.
Okay, so
Okay.
that was great to know about the React Native design system. Obviously, I'm very eager at this point of time to try it out, and I just like the project too much. So, like, can you please tell us more about what is the difference between the actual tech industry and what is being taught to us in the colleges? A more deep insight on tech industries and what's actually going on.
Okay, so like I told you, like what happened with my college is everyone was learning Java, and they were
Mm-hmm.
building some portfolio website with JSP pages. Okay, but when you get out of the college and go for an interview, you get to know that no one is using JSP pages. So
Mm-hmm.
why you learned it at the first place? If
Right.
everyone is going to use React or Vue, why don't you learn it in college? One
Mm-hmm.
thing is it's lack of awareness. Most of the colleges are not aware of these things. Like even teachers are like not aware of that, so they can't teach. Everyone is just going with Java, Java, Java everywhere. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so the industry is highly oriented for JavaScript. It's everywhere. So even I asked my senior once that what should I learn. He said JavaScript. Okay, so I learned JavaScript, the basic for loop, switch cases and everything. But what next? So there should be some kind of mentorship that make aware of the student that you can learn some framework or UI library that is in
Mm-hmm.
demand of the industry. What is the industry demand? If you are learning Angular, then you can apply for the big companies only, like MNCs. Small
Okay.
companies don't use Angular. If you are going to learn React, then you can apply for startups also and for the big giant companies also like Flipkart and Swiggy. So
Mm-hmm.
these things like happen in college. Like you are not really aware of what's happening in what's the demand of the market.
So what would you suggest for people like us who are like we as a community, we are learning a lot of different things, JavaScript, React, Node,
Hmm.
GraphQL, etc., etc., etc. But there are many students in our college who are just doing C++ as of now and a bit of object-oriented programming. That's it. And when they come in third year and they realize that they have to go for interviews, all they do is just learn data structures and algorithms for 2 months and then apply and then do a 6 month training out there to learn the skills that we already know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how should one get started while just being in college? Like we all right now are in second year. So think of
Okay.
it from a second year's perspective as
Hmm.
what should be the steps to follow and what should be the path that they should take to reach the level that you have accomplished.
Okay. So first thing is be a part of community. There is a
Mhm.
huge community on Twitter or LinkedIn. So if you are using these platforms for your own good, it will be really great for you. Okay. Follow good people. You will learn a lot
Mhm.
from them. Be vulnerable. Don't hesitate to put yourself out there and ask for a feedback. Okay. So if suppose I think you are already in the Team Tana job challenge. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
So if you are part of that community, you already know that what other people are doing.
Hmm.
And if you see a lot of people are doing React, so you will also think that why everyone is doing React, what's the good thing in that.
Hmm.
Okay, so these things will make you aware of the market demand, and
Okay.
more importantly, at this time you need a lot of guidance and mentorship. So
Hmm.
don't hesitate to reach out to the people in community who are already successful or doing good. Community
Hmm.
is really good, and everyone is really helpful. If you need any help, we will help you out. So don't hesitate to just go and ask or just drop a direct message that I am having this problem and what can I do. So you can do that. And what you are doing right now is really great. You are organizing a podcast. A lot of people will listen to it. So this is
Hmm.
also really good stuff. And be be consistent with one technology. Suppose you decided to learn JavaScript, okay, JavaScript and React, okay. So be consistent with that. Don't jump into a lot of technology because everyone is doing it. Just choose one thing and learn it really well and build some projects. I think if you are able to build 3 or 4 projects, you can eliminate the Java DS and Algo round totally. I have given
Oh,
3 4 interviews. I have never answered any DS Algo question. I know it, but there was no DS Algo round. Mostly it's just basic JavaScript or advanced JavaScript, and the questions regarding if you are building 3 or 4 projects, the interviewer will already have enough content to ask you from your own project, and
okay.
as you have built it, you can answer it really well. He will
Yeah.
ask you that what were the problems you faced while building this project, how you solved
Hmm.
them, what is the inspiration behind this project. So you have
Hmm.
already built it, so you can answer these questions really well. And
Right.
right now I would suggest that stick with one technology and learn
Hmm.
it really well. Don't jump to a lot of stuff. And if when whatever you are learning, just document it.
Hmm.
Blogging is one thing that have like helped me a lot. With blogging, I have got freelancing projects.
Hmm.
I have written a paid React course also because of uh, uh,
Okay.
someone saw my article, and
Hmm.
this job I have got at Hashnode. It is also because of this blogging, because the my founder at Hashnode was aware of what I was doing, what I was writing. So he
Hmm.
approached me to just come for an interview and talk about it. So if people know you that you are doing some work, and so you will get a lot of opportunities. You don't have to go for any interview also. You will get a lot of opportunities will come to you basically.
Okay.
So
So,
since we are talking about projects, a question often comes to the minds of people that how do I think about a project or how do I get
hmm.
started? What's the basic inspiration behind doing a project? So can you just please elaborate on that?
Okay. So there are like platforms. What usually I do is I read an article or choose a video course from Udemy or something. Okay. So uh, I learn some things and I see how can I apply these things to a different project. Okay. Don't build the same project. It's not. It will not help you. If an instructor is building is, there is no point of you to build the same thing. Just apply the same knowledge and build something else which is close to that but not exactly same. Okay, and uh, try to solve your own problems. Like React Native design system was my own problem. I was copy pasting a lot of components and I wanted to avoid it. So I built a library, and like that there are a lot of people in community that are solving their own problems and building awesome products out of it. So if you are engaging, like you are trying a lot of things, suppose you tried 10 things, okay, so there will be 3-4 things that will come really good. You will fail, you will eventually fail in few things, but some of them will get really good. So try a lot of things, be at a lot of places, and uh, just be active.
So how do we understand that, yes, now is the point where I am comfortable with a certain technology? Like suppose we started with
Okay.
React and we started building projects. So at what point do we feel that, yes, now I am ready to go to interviews or I'm ready to take on some paid work, for example?
Hmm.
Because people start, but they don't know when to stop. They don't know when to get involved in the actual job. Uh,
Okay. So the thing is, you will never feel that you are just good enough to go to anything. Okay. When I joined at Hasnot, I knew nothing
okay.
about web, but now I'm a web developer.
Mhm.
When I joined the first startup, it's called Shewoot International Private Limited. I knew some basic things of Android, which I learned over a 3 months of period. So I
Mhm.
can't be a master of Android development in 3 months.
Right.
Okay. So just know the basics, and if you can build a to-do app in some technology,
Mhm.
you are good to go.
Mhm.
And it's like
Okay.
you have to learn a lot of things while working on a project. You can't
Right.
be prepared, like fully prepared for a job. If you are fully
Mhm.
prepared of job, it will not give you anything. You are there to grow. Okay.
Mhm.
So if things are uncomfortable, if you don't know a lot of things, then those things will help you grow only. You can't be 100% sure that I know everything about React and everything. Even if you ask even Tanay, he will say that I'm learning. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
He has 7 years of experience and he is still learning. I am still learning. So you can't be fully
Mhm.
prepared. Just build some, build 2 or 3 basics apps and
Mhm.
try it out. Like let the recruiter decide that if you are good or not. It's not your
Mhm.
job. You just do your work and let the other person decide. If he sees that you are good enough, he will hire you.
Right. So one more thing was I wanted to go back a bit on GraphQL as we are going to start learning that right now. So what are some good resources to start with? Suppose any new technology, for example, and you can take GraphQL as an example for that.
Hmm.
How do we find resources to learn them?
So one really good resource is a free code camp.
Okay.
You just go to their YouTube channel and you will find a video of literally any tech stack you need to learn. Either be it a
Mhm.
GraphQL, Postgre, AWS, anything. They have videos
Right.
for any tech stack. So that's the good starting point. Then
Mhm.
for some advanced stuff, for GraphQL, you can go to Hasura. Hasura
Mhm.
has really good quality blogs. They are short blogs which will help you some advanced stuff also. And
Mhm.
don't just start a project. You will start a
Okay.
project, build something like it's. Don't think about impact that it's going to be the project of the year or something. Just start some
Mhm.
basic things, and you will find a lot of difficulty that you don't know exist. And while
Mhm.
solving those problems, you will learn everything about the tech stack.
Amazing. So
So
one
free
more.
code camp and Hasura.
one more thing. You told to get involved in communities and on Twitter and LinkedIn. So first question, how to find those communities? And second questions, if you find them, how to get started in that community, how to get to be a part of that? Because many people get intimidated by people working out there that they know a lot of a lot of these things which I don't know, and how will I be a part of that?
Okay, so that was the same problem with me also.
Mm-hmm.
When I started, like I was confused that I should start blogging or not. When I started writing, I had just 6 months of experience
Mm-hmm.
last year. Okay, so I had just six, and I thought that there are a lot of good resources already there. Why should I write? But you have your own perspective. What
Right.
you see in a problem, someone might not see that. And if you are learning something, like you are in second year, you are facing these things for the first time. So what problems you will face is totally rare and new to you. Just document it. What problems you faced, how you solve those problems, and put it out there. Don't worry that you will get judged or something like that. Just put it out there, and you will get better at it, and people will appreciate it.
So how to find those
So
communities?
yeah, there is one thing, communities, one is Hashnode, one is dev.to,
Mm-hmm.
Medium is there, Free Code Camp is there, or just use your own blog and write a tweet that I posted this blog and just give it a hashtag of JavaScript.
Okay.
People who are following JavaScript will eventually notice you. Okay, and if you
So,
want, you can just send this article to me or any person in community and ask for a feedback. Okay, so this is
okay.
one thing of this is how you can build a connection also, good relationship with
Mm-hmm.
other, get involved and ask for suggestions. And I would like to mention one more thing. Me and few other folks are running a program called the Next Big Writer. So we are mentoring newcomers in technical writing. Uh, Basically, you write a blog, we give you a topic, you write a blog around it, and we will give you uh, feedback and how you can improve. You improve, and we post on a separate publication called the Next Big Writer on a Hashnode. So each time you write a blog, we will provide you feedback and you will learn something new. So this will help you build your technical writing skills as well. The best thing is, yeah, best thing is document it. Write what you are learning, how you solve the problem, and what interests you. So if you are writing, suppose about design system, okay, you like the design system and you build something and you write about it. So you will meet a lot of like-minded people, and this is actually what you call community, meeting a lot of like-minded people.
Right. That was a great insight. Like a lot of new things we got to know from you. Uh, any more tips from your side for people watching this? Because all of them will be newbies, and most of the things that you mentioned, well, like you have already said a lot of things, but if you want to just summarize it in 2 or 3 points.
Okay, one thing is just build something. Okay, it can be a variation. Suppose there are hundreds of thousands of to-do lists, but you might need a different variation of it. You might need something else. You might need a label in it. Build
Mhm.
that and put it out there. Okay,
Right.
keep learning, document what you are learning and put it out there. And by documenting, I mean either it's a blog or it's a tweet, or just post something on LinkedIn. It will work.
Okay.
Uh, and okay, and don't hesitate to fail. It's okay to fail. Like
Right.
if you are trying 10 times, you will fail 7 times and you will succeed in 3. 3 times will help you grab an amazing opportunity. So in short, what there are two types of things. When you see a problem, you will have two types of thought. Either you will feel that I can do it, okay, or you will feel that I don't know if I can do it. So if it's a second kind of thing, second thought you are having, then this will help you grow. If you already know you can do it, there is nothing much to learn there. But if you are uncomfortable in facing some problem, then that problem will help you grow. Okay. And like you are students, right? So make a small goals and stick to it. Don't just plan to read 50 books in a year or read 20 books in a year or even one book a month. That's also a big goal. Just for example, make a goal that I will read 10 pages a day. That's it. If you are reading 10 pages a day, you will eventually finish a book by month or two. So focus on small goals and treat your work, whatever you are doing, as like sacred. Okay, so if you are working on something, dedicate your full attention and don't try to multitask. Okay, suppose you are playing a game, so just focus, give your full attention to playing a game. If you are doing an assignment, give your full attention to doing assignment. Separate your time, divide your time, and be focused on one thing at a time. Okay, and focus itself is a skill. You can practice it. If you are listening to a podcast daily for 45 minutes and you are forcing yourself to focus on the podcast and not touch your mobile for anything else, then it will help you build a lot of focus. And one thing I really found it helpful was I follow a 15-minute problem rule. So what this says is, do not search for a solution until 15 minutes are over. First, try to think about the solution yourself. Try it for 15 minutes, and if you can't do it, then ask for help or search online. Don't look for any solution even if you are solving a DSLO question. Just give 15 minutes because you have all the information on your fingertip. Everything is available on internet. So our problem solving abilities are decreasing day by day. So to force these things, just follow this 15-minute rule. And suppose you are starting a project, okay, you decided to build an app and you have everything in mind, but don't jump to code directly. Write down the steps that you are going to do, write down the modules that it will have and how you are going to build it. First write everything down. When you know that you have to set update here, then you can write a code for set update in the code. Actual thing is thinking, the coming up with the approach or the steps you are going to follow. So first write it down and then jump to code. Yeah, and never copy the same thing from Udemy. The instructor is already building it. So don't build the same project. Try a different variation and apply the knowledge you learn from that project. And another one could be revise the topic that you are learning at a different times. Like if you learned something today, revise it after a week or two. Don't just read it a lot of times daily. Read it, stop. Don't go to that topic for 1 or 2 weeks and then try to recall what you learned. It will help you a lot. These things have helped me in my career, so I think it can be helpful for you also.
Exactly. That's why we had you here, because having an experience of someone else is really important for students. The one last topic that we'll try to talk on, and this will be the last. So we are active participants of hackathons. So all
Great.
three of us have been participating in various hackathons, national level, international level hackathons. So how do you think that affects a person's career and ability to problem solve? And is hackathons really a good thing? Do people hire from that, or is this just a waste of time for 24 hours?
No. It's a really good thing. You are basically thinking for 24 hours to how to solve a problem. And I would say that you might be learning a lot from that also. Okay. If you are building a project, you will eventually bump up into a lot of issues that you solve on the spot. So I would say that after a hackathon is over, write your experience and put on the internet. Someone will notice. HRs, all the companies are looking for good candidates that are engaging in such kind of activities. But you have to tell them that you are such candidate and you are engaging in that of activities. So how you are going to say that? Whatever you are doing, put it out there. Use LinkedIn for good, use Twitter for good, everything. And it's a really good activity. Don't stop it.
So I guess that is all I have from my side. Jay, do you have any other questions?
No, that was great. That was a great session.
And
Yeah,
feel free to reach me anytime in future if you need any help or suggestion. You
sure, sure,
already, I
sure.
think, know my Twitter or something, or Telegram.
Mhm.
Feel free to
Yep.
reach. I will be always be happy to help.
Sure. Uh, Thanks a lot. It was really insightful, and as this was the first episode of our podcast, so I guess it was really good to have you. And
Yeah.
we will appreciate some feedback from you as well. Like, how did you
This is my
find this?
first podcast as well.
Okay, great.
Okay.
uh, so I hope it was informative for everyone who will be watching this, and it was a lot for us, and I hope it also helped you in some way. I guess it was
Yeah.
really great having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Uh,
It's really good thing that you are doing such thing. But don't stop and keep doing what you are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.